أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي نبر قلوبنا بأنوار المحبة العلمية وأكمل لنا ديننا بولاية المرتزبية وتم نعمته علينا بهداية الهيدرية ونصلي ونسلم على سيد من خلق المؤمن الحق بالحق حبيب إلهنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين. اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. صلوات Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Salaamu Alaikum. Just to summarize the last few nights worth of lectures for those who weren't here, and just to jog your memory so that we know where we are standing with things. We started off the lectures talking about hikmah and knowledge, and we said that ilm and hikmah are two separate entities that when they come together become Islam, become the deen. Sometimes the word deen in Arabic is translated as religion, whereas the word deen is mainly known amongst the Arabs as being life. So when Allah says in the Quran, Inna al-deena indallahi al-Islam, that means Allah is not saying the religion with God is Islam, because Allah does not know about religion. Because as far as Allah is concerned, there is only one religion. The deen that Allah says in Dallahi Islam. So when Allah is saying this, it's saying that the life that you are living should be an Islamic life. So following the ilm that the Holy Prophet brought with him, the kitab the Holy Prophet brought with him, but we said also the hikmah that was through Amir al-Mu'mineen, because he was Babul Ilm al-Nabi. The gateway to Rasulullah was only through the door of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So therefore, for you to have Islam, these portions have to be together for you to have the life. If you don't have this, you are a walking dead. So even though you might be existing, and like I said, we have taken many great technology advances from the kuffar as such, the non-Muslims as such. So knowledge is not just exclusive for Muslims and the religion of Islam. But if you want to have a lifestyle and a way of life that is accepted, that is in Allah al-Islam, you have to come through the vilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen.
MashaAllah.
So this was basically a summary of what we've been talking about, hikmat and ilm, because we want to get to this question as to how did Rasulullah and how did they spread the message of Islam. But like I said, we have to first understand what Islam is, then see how it was spread. And then last night we talked about, in particular because it was Friday, I wanted to talk a little bit about Imam Zaman, and we talked about the mabaddat that the Holy Prophet asked in return for all his hardship. He only asked for this mabaddat from us. And we said that the Holy Prophet said, even though I am asking for this, I'm not asking for myself. This mabaddat is in return for you, not for me. So even this mabaddat comes back to be useful to us. And we said last night that one of the best ways to express this mabaddat and love towards Ahlul Bayt was to do dua for them. And this is a great honor for us to be able to do dua for our imams. And in return, we said when you do dua for Imam al-Zaman, he will then pray for you. Because again, this has come in the hadith that said that when you make your du'as, the most of your du'as, make it for my faraj, then in this dua for me, it will be a dua for you. So again, it's a win-win situation for us. So you see, my brothers and sisters, especially the younger ones, you may sometimes ask the question as to, Islam is a very difficult religion, it's asking us to do this, it's asking us to do that. But you will see that everything Islam is asking to do is for your benefit. Allah does not have any need for us. The Imams don't have any need for us. But whatever we do for Allah, we do for them, it's for our own benefit. So again, we get out of this more than we put in. Again, it's a great trade to have. And last night we also talked about Uwais al-Qarani and his connection with Rasulullah, even though he never met Rasulullah and he never did the ziyarat of Rasulullah, yet you see what a maqam that he got, and what a maqam higher than to be one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And this is without doing ziyarat. Now you imagine those who go to Karbala, those who do ziyarat. And I did want to talk about the ziyarat of Imam Hussein, but I don't know if these next few nights we will have the time to do it. I'll try to fit it in if I can, but I don't want to rush it. Because there's a very beautiful hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. That I am, even though you guys, and I've said to you, most of you guys have made your hairs white at this door, but I'm pretty sure that you've not heard this hadith before. So I will keep this in suspense for you guys. And believe me, it's one of those hadiths that I mentioned that sometimes when we hear it, when we're studying these things, it blows our minds and we can't comprehend it. So I will keep this, but it's to do with the ziyarat of Imam Hussein. And it's an amazing hadith. So inshallah, if I can, next few nights, I'll try to fit it in somehow. Because I don't like to go off topic too much. So we said, without even doing the ziyarat, you will get to this maqam. But how did Uwais al-Qarani get to this maqam? We mentioned this last night as well. Was because he obeyed his mother's wishes. By obeying his mother's wishes, his mother did the dua for him. And she said, even though you didn't see Rasulullah, may Allah make you the companion of the righteous. So he ended up being a companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen through the prayers of his mother. And my brothers and sisters, the prayers of the mother in particular for their child is amazing. So much so that Hazrat Musa, whenever he was called to the mountain to go and speak to Allah directly, Jibreel used to say to him, Musa, Allah is waiting for you. Go to the top of the mountain. He would walk. And Jibreel would say to him, Musa, hurry, rush, your God is waiting. You are keeping your God waiting. So he would start rushing. One day, when Musa was going up the mountain, he was rushing to go. Jibreel said to him, slow down. He said, Ya Jibreel, till today you've been saying to me every time, hurry. Now you're telling me to slow down? He said, because till yesterday your mother was alive. She was making dua for you that you go to the top of the mountain safely and come back. But now that your mother is there, there's no one to do dua for your safety. See, this is why they say the heavens are the feet of the mother. My young brothers and sisters, I've said to you already many times that inshallah repetition is needed. No matter how many times we repeat these words, even the Quran, they say to us recite it every day, it's all repetitive. There's nothing new because we are repeating the same verses over and over again. But why do they say this? Because every time it makes something alive inside us. So if I keep repeating this, it's because I want to hammer this point home. Manners are the only thing that had united these 72 at Karbala. If you didn't have the manners, you were not allowed even to get near to the haram of Imam Hussein, to the vicinity of Imam Hussein. And these manners have got to start at home towards your mother and father. This mother and father that have brought you to these majalis of Imam Hussein. Every time you fell over, your mother would say Ya Ali, and get up. Some of these children were breastfed in the majalis of Imam Hussein. Your mother was crying for Ali and Asghar and breastfeeding you at the same time. These all have a place in the system of Allah. So my brothers and sisters, do not take your mother and father lightly. Like I said last night, you know, you have to have the permission of your mother and father if you want to go to Karbala. Even though I will say this to the mother and father, sometimes without hikmat, we can't stop these children from going. Don't just say to them, no, you can't go because you don't want them to go for no particular reason. The mother and father have also got this, have to have this hikmat onto how to treat their children and how to raise these children. So this was a quick summary of these few nights. And like I said to you, you know, with Uwais al-Qarani, we have to see if we were on the maqam of Uwais. But sometimes We try to say, well, we can't get to the maqam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we can't get to the maqam of course we can't, we will try, this is our dream, but at least let's try to get to the maqam of Uwais al-Qarani, maqam of Salman al-Farsi. These people were not, they were not from Ma'sumeen. They were normal people like you and I. They got to that maqam, so why can't we get to the maqam and be one of the companions of Imam al-Zaman? Because this is what we are striving for. Yet it is amazing, I have a friend of mine who lives in Iran, he lives in Mashhad. He has been living in Mashhad for over 40 years, yet he has never been to the ziyarat of Imam al-Zaman. He only lives about 15 minutes away from the haram as well. But when you say to him, he makes a laugh, he jokes about it, he says, oh, Imam al-Zaman is so busy, there's too many people there. When it's empty, I will go one day. But he makes his jokes. Why? Because this has been taken away from you. You see? But some of us from here, it is written for us we were at Karbala and Arba'in. I have yaqeen of this, 100%. Because even Imam Asnari says when you do the ziyarat to Arba'in, mark out the graves on the floor, on the sand, so that you are at Karbala, because this is accepted from you. So we have this yaqeen, so always remember this, my young, just because you're not at Karbala does not mean you are not written down as the Zahir of Imam Hussein. Yet the Holy Prophet says, أفضل الأعمال أمتي انتظار الفرج. The highest act and a'mal of my ummah is intizar al-faraj, is to wait for the reappearance of Mahdi. What does this mean? What does intizar mean? Well, in a very sort of literal translation of intizar, it means to be waiting for someone. Now you see, if you have had a passenger who's gone to Hajj or gone to Karbala, you see how you'll be waiting for that person to come back. Every day you'll be checking the flight details, you'll be checking to see if the plane has landed on time, you will clean the house, you'll make everything prepared for them, a nice meal, you'll make a nice banner saying to them, welcome home, you will make sure you get to the airport on time. Why? Because you want that person who is returning not to feel any hardship, you don't want to keep them waiting, you want to make the path for them very clear and very easy. And this is the basics of intizar for us. While we are waiting for Imam al-Zaman, this waiting in itself, you may see, is how is this an afdal al-a'mal? Just by waiting, just by sitting around, saying, inshallah, may Imam al-Zaman come. Last night, like I said, the best dua was to pray for Imam al-Zaman. This is, of course, a duty that we have. But when I said a few nights ago, the most important duty that we have in the time of ghaibah of Imam al-Zaman is to propagate the message of Karbala. Is to spread the message of Imam Hussein. Now, why do I say this? Imam Zaman, inshallah, the day he arrives, in our unanimous ahadith, because there are many ahadiths about the return of Imam Zaman, one of the main sort of ahadith that says that Imam Zaman, when he will come, he will go to Mecca, and he will go to Masjid al-Haram. He will lean against the Kaaba. And like I said a few nights ago, this leaning against the Kaaba is showing that Allah is my backbone, that the house of Allah is my support. When he leans against the Kaaba, and again, my brothers and sisters, today you guys will not understand what I'm saying about technology. Because in my day, technology was not that advanced. So when I said to you, when we were younger, we would read these hadiths, we were studying these hadiths, they didn't comprehend to us. It was difficult for us to understand because we are limited in capacity. So there was a hadith, for instance, on the 27th of Safar, the Rasulullah says that I sat opposite Amir al-Mu'mineen, and within a few seconds, all my ilm transferred to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now this was, for me, was difficult to understand. How is this possible? Because in our days, the maximum capacity there was on these computers, and like we had the floppy disks, that you could only have 258 kilobytes worth of storage. So that was the maximum, literally half a file would fit on this big floppy disk. So we said, how is it possible for ilm to be transferred from one person to one person in a few seconds? Well, today, you youngsters are used to technology. You will see that you can copy gigabytes of information from one memory card the size of this big to another memory card that big within less than a second. You can transfer that information. So when Rasulullah says this, now it becomes clear to us. And again, when you hear that when Imam al-Zaman will come, when he will speak to the people and he addresses them as the people of the world, everyone, it says in the hadith, will hear his voice. Now again, this was difficult for us to understand 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And now I'm showing you my age, or maybe I shouldn't do that, but this is difficult for us to understand. But today you will see everyone has the mobile phone, and when the Imam comes, who knows what the technology is like? But one thing happens in the world, this message is spread everywhere. Instantly, you all have it. You can see the news, you can see what's happening. So when Imam Zaman stands there, the hadith says, and this hadith is from 1400 years ago, saying that you will hear his voice, the whole world will hear his voice. See how the whole prophecy was? You see how our prophet saw things? That's not difficult for us to comprehend this. So for you youngsters in particular, technology is there. So it's not difficult for Imam for his voice to hear everything. So when Imam Zaman will come, inshallah, he will lean against the Kaaba. And again, most ahadith are unanimous in this. That one of the first few things he will say, and this is why the message I've said to you of propagating the message of Karbala is our main duty in the time of Imam Zaman. He will say, Ya ala ya ahl al-alam. Again, he's not saying ala ya ayyuhal muslimina fil Makkah. Hadith says ala ya ahl al-alam. That means, oh, the whole world. Inna jaddi al-Husayn qataluhu atshana. Oh, people of the world, my grandfather Hussein was killed while he was thirsty. Again, you might say to me, how does this make the point that our duty is to propagate the message of Karbala? Well, to tell you why and show you why, I have to give you a little bit of a background. You will see that with Imam Sajjad in particular in Sham, an old man approached the Ahlul Bayt and he started swearing at them, started slandering them, saying, Alhamdulillah, you have been captured, you people are the enemies of Islam. He started swearing and slandering them, and you will see how Imam Sajjad responds to this old man. He doesn't get angry with him, he doesn't swear back at him, he doesn't call him a jahil, he doesn't call him an infidel, he doesn't call him a kuffar, he doesn't call him anything like that. All he says to him is, old man, have you read the Quran? He says, yes, I've read the Quran. He says, have you read this word verse? La as'alukum alayhim min ajr illa al-mabaddata lil ghurba. He said, yes. He said, that ghurba is us. Then he says, have you read this ayah? إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. Have you read this verse? He said, yes. He said, that Ahlul Bayt that Allah talks about the Quran, it is us. So by giving this man wisdom and hikmah, this man apologized and he fell on the floor and he said, believe me, I did not know who you were. We have been given false propaganda about you people. We have been misled. So please forgive us. I said, of course, there's no forgiveness is for everybody. Then he goes on to Darbar Yazid. And you will see in that Darbar Yazid, he asked for permission to go on these pieces of wood. Yazid refuses. Now look at the ma'rifat of Yazid here, my brothers and sisters. You see, again, don't be blind like those people who are our enemies, who don't want to see any wisdom in anything. We have to appreciate things where we see them. I've always said this, even though it is from the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, someone like Yazid, we still have to appreciate some of the good qualities of Yazid. For instance, his father Muawiyah, being the jahil that he was, yet he had the ma'rifat of Imam Hussein. Some of us don't have the ma'rifat of Imam Hussein. Because he said to his son Yazid, when he wrote his letter in his final will and testament, he said, Yazid, you will become the Khalif, but whatever you do, don't fall out with Hussein. See? And Yazid here, in this particular event, shows his ma'rifat to Imam Sajjad. When Imam Sajjad asks him for permission, he refuses. And it is written that Yazid says to Imam Sajjad, when they asked, why did you refuse? He said, because these people, pointing at Imam Sajjad, said they were fed ilm and hikmah when they were toddlers. While other children were being breastfed, they were being fed hikmah and ilm. This is a jahil person, one of the worst creations ever, one of the worst creatures ever. Yet he has ma'rifat to Imam. So finally he relented and he allowed Imam Sajjad to go on the minbar. When Imam Sajjad goes on the minbar, and I know you all have heard this famous sermon of his, he spent most of this sermon, I would say 90% of the sermon is what? Is introducing himself and Ahlul Bayt. Isn't that true? Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala awwala amrina sa'ada wa akhara amrina shahada. Praise to be to Allah that created our beginnings with Sa'ada and our end with Shahada. Then he says, Ja'faru minna, Hamza minna. Then he says, Shababa Ahl al-Jannati minna, Hassan and Hussein are from us. Anabnu Makkah wal Mina, Anabnu Zamzam wal Safa. You see? So he's introducing himself in length. So everyone goes on about this khutbah of Imam Sajjad, saying that, oh, it's really demolished the system of Yazid, it really brought the message of Imam Hussein through. But when you read it, 90% of it is just introducing himself to everybody. Yeah? There's nothing in it really about the message of Karbala. He's not really propagating the message of Imam Hussein. All he's doing is introducing Ahlul Bayt. Why was this? Because the people, only 50 years after the death of the Holy Rasulullah, did not know who Ahlul Bayt was. Did not know who Imam Sajjad was. Did not know who Imam Hussein was. Did not know who Amir al-Mu'mineen was. So Imam is using this opportunity that he has just to introduce themselves. Yet we will look at Imam al-Zaman when he comes, he does not introduce himself. He doesn't spend 90% of that time introducing himself to the whole world. He doesn't say to the people that I am this, and now I am saying to you, my grandfather Hussein was killed thirsty. Do you know who my grandfather Hussein was? My grandfather Hussein was this, was this, was this, was this. No! He only says my grandfather Hussein was killed thirsty. What does this mean? That means by the time Imam al-Zaman will come, inshallah, the message of Imam Hussein will have spread to the furthest points of this world. That every single person on this earth, by hearing the name Hussein, will automatically know who he was and what happened at Karbala and who his grandson is. This is why when I come here is because I said was because this is the society for the propagation of the message of Karbala. Because this is our main duty in the time of Imam al-Zaman. Is it only our main duty? Or was it the duty of all Imams to pave the way for Imam al-Zaman? Rasulullah said, أفضل أعمال أمتي انتظار الفرج. Who is the Ummah of Rasulullah? At the head of the Ummah of Rasulullah is who? Is his own Ahlul Bayt. So their أفضل الأعمال, their main a'mal was intizar al-faraj. And we have this in many ahadith, that even when Hazrat al-Zahra was behind that door, she cried out for Imam al-Zaman. Imam Hussein in Qatligar cried out for Imam al-Zaman. Hazrat Zainab, when she was being taken away by force in captivity, she cried out for Imam al-Zaman. Imam Reza in particular, he has been very famous poem that the was recited for him was for Imam al-Zaman. So this propagation of the message of Imam Hussein was led by the Ahlul Bayt themselves. In particular, who? Again, one of the questions that came up, and again, I'm not going to have much time to go into it, but one of the questions was, why do we mark the Arba'een of Husseini? Is because of this. We don't mark the Arba'een to commemorate the sacrifice of Imam Hussein. We mark the Arba'een to commemorate the resolve of Zainab. Ashura is for Imam Hussein. Arba'een is for Zainab. Always remember this. Yet three people had the main duty to propagate the message of Karbala. There were three original members of Furuq al-Azhar and Jamal Furuq al-Azhar. There were three main members. The first one was Imam Sajjad. The second one was Hazrat Zainab alayhi salam. The third one, and this is going to surprise many of you, and I'll explain to you why, was Hazrat Sakina alayhi salam. Now, amongst you Pakistani community, the Indian community, I know this is going to cause confusion because you know Hazrat Sakina as to be the 3-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein. But amongst the Arabic speaking communities and the Iranians, they know Hazrat Sakina to be the 13-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein. So much so that we have a hadith from Imam Hussein himself that he says, Sakinatu khayratun min nisbani. That Sakina is the best amongst my women. So you see, Imam here is classifying her as a woman, not as a 3-year-old daughter. So Hazrat Sakina, and again, this is not mentioned many places. People don't really talk about her that much. So when I say Hazrat Sakina, we are talking about the 13-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein, because as you know, all of Imam Hussein's children were called Ali, all his sons, and all his daughters were called Fatima. But because she was known as Fatima al-Kubra, and again, because Hazrat Zahra is known as Fatima al-Kubra, we don't mention that name, we say Hazrat Sakina. Yet Hazrat Sakina lived till the age of 70. And she propagated the message of Karbala more than Hazrat Zainab and Imam Sajjad. Because just by the virtue that she lived longer than all of them, she was the longest remaining person of Karbala. And she would hold majalis for Imam Hussein in her house, she would have lessons at her house for Imam Hussein, she would propagate the message of Karbala fully. So Hazrat Sakina had a big role to play in this. And it is amazing, Hazrat Sakina had a very strong connection with Imam Hussein. You would imagine that Imam Hussein, everything that he suffered at Karbala, all the masa'ib that he suffered at Karbala, by the afternoon of the day of Ashura, now everyone has been killed from him. And Imam Hussein has seen every single person being killed and all the calamities that you all know. You would have thought that those were the masa'ib that really finished off Hussein. And you will see Imam Hussein himself, he has made comments against each of these deaths. Like we said, against when Ali al-Akbar was killed, Imam Hussein, and again you will see many of these events have been narrated by Hazrat Sakina. When she said, when Ali al-Akbar was killed, I looked at my father Hussein, he was crying buka and ariya. Do you know what this means? That means Imam Hussein was screaming and crying at the death of Ali al-Akbar. And then Imam himself says at the body of Ali al-Akbar, Waladi ala dunya ba'dika al-akhbar. Oh my son Ali, after this event I don't want to live. At the body of Abul Fazl al-Abbas, Imam Hussein said what? Al-an inkasarat zahri. Right now my back is broken. When Ali al-Asghar was killed, Imam Hussein said what? He said, oh Allah, my whole existence is on fire. My whole existence has caught fire. Yet, all these events have now passed. Imam Hussein himself says the hardest time for me was two things. One, saying goodbye to Zainab. The second one was saying goodbye to Sakina. This was the hardest masa'ib for me to face. When they arrived at Karbala, the news came to Imam Hussein that Muslim ibn Aqil had been killed. Imam got off from his horse, he sat on the ground and he started to cry very intensely. He said to one of his Sahabas, when it was Lady Zainab, most definitely, he said, go and bring the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil. The daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil by the name of Hamida, she was in the Qafila with Imam Hussein. So he went, and as Zainab brought her, he took this daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil, he sat her on his lap, he put his arms around her, and he said, my daughter, from today I am your father, because your father has been killed in Kufa. But from today, please don't call me Uncle Hussein, call me Father Hussein. And he held her and he cared for her and he looked after her and he treated her very nicely. Now from a distance, Hazrat Sakina was one of the seeds. And she started to cry. Imam Hussein said, oh Sakina, why are you crying for? He said, Father, it doesn't matter, leave this. So time went and it came to the day of Ashura. Imam Hussein has said his goodbyes to Zainab. All that calamity that he faced by saying goodbye to Zainab, he now got on his horse to go to the battlefield. The horse is not moving. Imam Hussein said, this horse is a trained horse. It's a horse that's been trained for these events, for the battlefield. Why is it not moving? So he slightly, gently kicked the horse again. The horse would not move. So he looked down and he saw that Hazrat Sakina was holding the feet of the horse. So he got down from his horse, he took his daughter, he placed her in his lap, and he said, Sakina, my daughter, what is it now? She said, Father, please take us back to Medina. He said, my daughter Sakina, you are asking me for something that I cannot do. She said, Sakina, if I could take you back to Medina, I would take you back to Medina. But this enemy have closed all the routes for me. There is no way out of this. So she said, Father, do you remember 7 or 8 days ago when they brought the news of the Shahada of Muslim ibn Aqil, how you took the daughter of Muslim and you sat her on your lap? Father, who is going to do this for me after you are killed? Sakina started to cry, and here Imam Hussein himself has said this poem for her, and he says, Ya Sakina, la tuhriqi qalbi. What does this mean? He said, Sakina, do not break my heart anymore. This heart of Hussein is already broken. Do not cry onto me, Ya Sakina. He says, La tuhriqi qalbi bidamika hasrata, ma dama min al-ruh fi jasmi. Oh Sakina, do not cry in front of me while there is still a soul in my body. While I am still alive, do not cry for me. Allah la'natullahi ala al-zalimin. فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون يا رب الحجة بحق الحجة كشف سد الحجة لظهور الحجة اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمه. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.